World War I, seemingly the greatest war in history. Well, until World War II, but that's for another video, with over 40 million deaths and large injustice scouring Europe. This is the entirety of World War I depicted through Minecraft. The Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir to the Austrian throne, was visiting Bosnia. There was a large crowd surrounding his newly bought vehicle. One of these men would be an assassin sent out to kill him. The driver of the vehicle was quick to realise and drove off into a side road, and the Duke thought he had narrowly escaped death. As they made their way back onto the main road, they stumbled upon the same assassin who had made the attempt on his life just minutes earlier. The rest is history. Some say this is what started the war, others blamed it on a variety of other reasons. But either way, not long after this assassination, Austria decides to declare war on Serbia. Due to Austria and Germany being good buddies, this means they must also declare war. Serbia also had a protection agreement with Russia, and France unwillingly got dragged along as well, making lots of countries declare war on one another. The French get slightly scared by the sight of war, so they ask Britain if they can step in like a big brother and help out, to which Britain says, no. So Germany walks up to Austria and tells them his master plan, which more or less consists of bum rushing through France before Russia has the chance to step in, then bum rushing Russia immediately after. Germany tries to invade France but comes across their first problem. France has many forts and heavy defences across the Germany-France border. So Germany whip on their big brain hats and decide, instead of fighting France like you normally do in a war, they'll go through Berlin and around the enemy line. This made Belgium very unhappy, as he didn't want 700,000 German troops coming to his house uninvited, so they no longer became a neutral party and attacked these 700,000 uninvited guests. Although Belgium put up a good fight, they aren't a big match for Germany, so they were conquered fairly quickly. Britain then decide to put down their tea and have had enough of Germany wreaking havoc and also declare war on the Germans. This still leaves the mighty French for the Germans to deal with, who they aren't coping too well against. Russia have finally become war ready. This frightens both Germany and Austria, so they have a mothers' meeting and bicker over the best way to conquer Europe. This meeting does result in positives for the Germans though, as on the Western Front line, the British and the French have both been pushed back, retreating to Paris. The Allies' numbers eventually overwhelm the Germans' front line, and after the Allies advancing for several miles, the German line digs a long hole in the ground, known as a trench, and sits in it. This trench warfare was extremely taxing on the soldiers, and involved sitting in wet, muddy trenches for months on end, being bombarded with thousands of artillery shells every day. Many of the deaths in war weren't even as a result of gunfire, as disease and infection within these trenches was extremely common, as trenches were filled with corpses, rats, and boggy mud that would grow mushrooms on your toes. Once these troops ran out of ammo, they would jump over the trenches and run through a wasted field known as no man's land, attempting to reach the enemy's trench. These conquests, lasting months, could result in hundreds of thousands of troops being killed in order to gain a few hundred feet of land. Meanwhile, on the 26th of April 1915, Germany also tries to recruit their good old friend Italy to help them in their large troop deficit, but after some subtle bribery from France and England, through promising some of Austria-Hungary's loot, they switched sides. Alongside this, Germany bribed Bosnia with some of Serbia's land. Bosnia was quick to accept, resulting in the swift conquering of Serbia. It was nearing 1916, and Germany knew their troops were struggling. They all subtly knew that the Allies had much more men and supplies than them. Some of the troops started drinking and brewing their own milk to try and drown out the sorrows of protecting their muddy ditch. Because of this, the German government knew their defeat was coming, and instead of waving the white flag, they decided to go into creative mode and breach the laws of war through the use of chemical weapons, murder of civilians, and blowing up non-war boats. This leads to the largest fight of the war, the Battle of the Somme. This was also the first war when the British opened up their Minecraft handbook and crafted a battle-ready minecart. British soldiers ended up losing over 60,000 troops in just the first day. This battle alone lasted 142 days, and led to over 1 million deaths and became a symbol of the futility of war. This battle was considered Germans' last push, as they knew the American support troops were coming close to arriving on France's beaches. This goes to show that morale plays a great part in war, as the death toll of 420,000 British troops, 200,000 French troops, and 440,000 German troops shows that the Germans had much less casualties despite being on the France's western front, with what remained of the German second-class fighters. By the end of these 142 days, the Allies only had a 6-mile land advancement to show for it. By 1917, every country's army was at their lowest morale. Supplies had been drained, armies were starving, and the war had no clear winner. Russia, which already held a shoddy economy, was the first to back down and withdrew from the war. This was great for Germany, as they now only had to worry about the Western Front. Once these troops arrived, the Axis countries were being pushed back on all fronts. Slowly, every country accepted defeat and surrendered, with Germany being the final one on November the 11th, 1918. After worldwide suffering and millions of deaths, the war had ended, and Germany accepted defeat through the Treaty of Versailles, and Germany never engaged in war ever again, until about 20 years later.